No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
A sight for sore eyes for Jets fans. Kyle Connor loading it up in overtime and scoring against the Edmonton Oilers. No, it is not the bubble year in triple overtime, Ezzy, which was one of the best post-game shows we've ever done, because I think there had about 1,000 people on it at around 1:30 in the morning when he finally got that goal in front of no fans. But this one was a loaded, sold-out Edmonton arena. What's it called? Rogers Arena. 17 Rogers Arenas across the country.
Rogers Center, Rogers Arena, Rogers Barn, whatever it's called. Rogers something. Rogers Center, I believe. Right?
Well, no, it's Rogers Arena, I think.
Rogers Arena, yeah.
But the point is that Kyle Connor gets the game-winning goal, gets the Winnipeg Jets to 100 points on the season with his GWG, and the Jets, not the best game they've ever played. A little bit of a difficult one. We'll talk about all the things that happened throughout the course of this hockey game. People are very impressed with Ezzy's basement. Looks a lot like Kelly Moore's basement when we had Kelly Moore on the show. But the fact of the matter is the Jets, they finished the road trip with a win after a disappointing loss in Vancouver, and they'll head home for 4 games starting against the Buffalo Sabres. But before we focus on what's ahead, we'll focus on the game that just was in Edmonton. So welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. After that little preamble, I'm Dave Manouk. He's Ezzy Ginsburg. Drew is away from the show. He'll be back Saturday morning. We got a jam-packed Illegal Curve hockey show Saturday at 9 o'clock. Dan Robertson, you heard him on the broadcast. He's joining us on Saturday, as is. Who's the other guest, Ez?
We've got Marty Biron coming up because, of course, the Jets play the Sabres. And Marty Biron, of course, in addition to covering the Jets for TSN, he obviously covers the Sabres for MSG. He used to play for the Sabres, of course. Marty Biron, one of our best friends on the show, he's going to be coming on Saturday. And as you mentioned, Dan Robertson, who you just heard on TSN 3. So we're going to have a jam-packed show, obviously tons to talk about, including tonight's win. And as you mentioned, Dave, you mentioned what we're going to focus on. I'm trying to figure out how many people are figuring out that yours is also a virtual background because that fire has not been moving. So
I could have paused it, Ez.
Yeah, that's true.
Sell me out.
That's true. But we're having a little fun with virtual backgrounds. This is the Kelly Moore background from a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, I think an impressive victory. And, considering, Dave, that both Draisaitl and McDavid were out of the lineup in this game, obviously McDavid left after a couple periods, as opposed to Draisaitl, who didn't dress at all tonight. But you had to take advantage of that. And obviously they got the 5-on-3. They weren't able to capitalize on that. But they were able to get the Brandon Tanev goal, which was just the definition. And by the way, I don't know about anybody else out there, but I just love watching Brandon Tanev celebrate goals. I could watch Brandon Tanev celebrate goals all day long. That's pure, there's nothing fake about that. He loves to celebrate scoring goals. I love the Tanev acquisition. I'll be honest with you, Dave. I love Lamp. I love Tanev. But a really impressive goal in overtime. And it a lot was going on this game, right? You had Vlad Domestikov leaving the game, obviously in the third period. Then he came back. We assume that was because it was concussion protocol. That was the hit from, who was it? Wasn't Podkolzin.
It was Skinner, wasn't it?
It was Jeff Skinner, you're right, who had 2 goals tonight. And you could say that was incidental. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's something that the NHL Department of Player Safety is going to look at, Dave. But obviously that it was a headshot and it was a little bit scary. But then you had on the power play late in the third period, you had Calvin Pickard having the little mask issue, and then you could see Mark Scheifele, don't read words, but you could see Mark Scheifele saying, "Come on, Calvin, you're going to stop the play on a power play in the third period." And then it was funny because then Hellebuck also had a little helmet malfunction in the overtime, but it seemed to me, Dave, and obviously, we'll get into it in the Play Now game recap. We'll dive a little bit deeper, but it didn't seem like Calvin Pickard was really set for that shot by Kyle Connor. And you could see Kyle Connor with the way his mind works and the way his his feet move, obviously with the speed, you could see that he saw something because he put that shot on net, and Calvin Pickard, that maybe there was a little bit of traffic. I don't think there was a lot of traffic in front of him, but he just didn't seem set. So obviously a huge goal. It ensures that this is a successful road trip for the Jets, getting 4 of 6 points. I mentioned this on last post-game show. Really didn't think the Jets played as bad as some people thought, or certainly I didn't think Hellebuck was as bad as some people thought in the game against Vancouver. But obviously some uncharacteristic mistakes. And look, even though Edmonton was without McDavid and Draisaitl for the whole game, McDavid only for a little bit, like I said.
Yeah.
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins had 6 points going into this game. Zach Hyman, who got another goal, he's got 25 on the season. Like, there's still a lot of dangerous weapons on that Oilers team. Podkolzin had that great chance in the third period, point blank. Hellebuck made a huge save. Like, I don't care what anybody says. This Oilers team is still a team that I think needs to be feared in the playoffs. I'm not saying necessarily that, they're playing as well, as they were in the second half of last season when they won that incredible run. But they were, winners of 3 in a row heading into this game, right, Dave?
Yep.
So I mean, they had a lot of confidence coming off of that huge win over Utah. But yeah, I love the way the Jets found a way to win, and they got some contributions from a variety of sources, including that fourth line.
Yeah, and Morgan Barron continues to excel at center. I mean, you heard Dan Robertson talk about his face-off percentage. I mean, I think he was he 5-0 on face-offs at one point going into the third period, and I think Mark Scheifele was 7-2. So the face-offs, at least from those two, were working well. And Morgan Barron, the long-range passing specialist, we'll get into that when we talk about one of the Jets' goals, but. Yeah, it was kind of an interesting game. I mean, I just looked at it. I mean, the power play is disappointing. The futility, I called it when I said a tweet out for people to join us on this show. I just thought it's the Oilers. I mean, the Jets and the Oilers are somewhat similar, right? The Jets have a very good power play, the best power play in the NHL. The Oilers have a good power play. The Jets have the 15th ranked PK. The Oilers actually have the 20th ranked PK. So you kind of thought, okay, well, there's a disadvantage for Edmonton, especially in the third period. The Jets are going to
the Oilers have I think their PK is like 7th or something in the league. It was I think you're thinking of are you thinking of the power play?
Unless I misread it as I mean, it's possible. I mean, I'm not I could be misremembering something, but I thought the penalty kill was very aggressive, and I just didn't think that there was parts where the Jets weren't getting set. And I could be wrong about that. I thought that it was the reverse. You are wrong. I'm right. It's funny because I'm like, I'm not going to say you gaslit me there, bud, but like, it was funny because I was like, I did the pregame report. I'm pretty sure I looked that up, and it was that they have the 20th ranked PK.
And so is it the 7th ranked power play? I'm reversed then.
Yeah.
Okay. Reversed. Sorry. I had it reversed.
Yeah.
But I thought I was obviously wrong, Dave. I stand corrected. I apologize.
It's all good. It's all good.
Maybe it's the virtual backgrounds that's giving me this.
Well, you're a little posh, as you're kind of yelling it right now.
Maybe it's my large sectional and my grand piano that I have in the background in my 3,000 square foot house that I'm in right now. But I thought the Oilers power play was very impressive. And, obviously, we're pulling for the Jets here. We're a Jet-centric show. But especially on the 5-on-3, it was just too loose. There wasn't enough movement. I thought they weren't creating enough odd man situations. Around. Absolutely. And that was a really stupid penalty by Corey Perry on Nikolai Ehlers. Like, obviously, Corey Perry's been known to take a few penalties throughout his career, right? But, I thought the first period was fairly even, and I thought that it was fairly back and forth. I thought it was a little bit too open, and it started. You could see the game started to settle down a little bit in the second period.
How many rush chances did the Jets get in that game? Especially, I think it was at the second period. Felt like they had like 4 in a row.
Yeah, and so did the Oilers, right? And it was kind of weird because I think the shot attempts ended up being 55 to 44 for Edmonton, but the shots were relatively low considering that this stat I do know is correct, Drew, Dave, as I call you, Drew. Yeah, these late games, I'm telling you, these West Coast late games, it's like our brains aren't functioning like they should. Like my brain doesn't function even when we're in the Central Time Zone, but. I was going to mention that the Oilers are a high shot volume team. Nobody shoots the puck more than the Oilers. And it was kind of a low event game in that sense, right?
Yeah.
Like there were chances, but it was a little bit disjointed at times. And obviously, you know, there was the giveaway on the Zach Hyman goal that led to the goal. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know, this one wasn't a Picasso, as we often say, but they end up getting the extra point, and they needed that after the game in Vancouver. I mean, we can, you know, disagree a little bit about, you know, how Hellebuck's playing that Canucks game and how the Jets played overall, but they wanted to obviously get back into the win column and start feeling better about themselves. And now they've both got 100 points, the Caps and the Jets.
Yeah, and the Caps will still stay ahead of them slightly because of the percentage, but the Jets do get to that all-important 100-point mark. The Capitals become, it's interesting, right? As in, this is in the book, this isn't Capitals lunch, but what a turnaround for Washington. They were the last team to clinch a playoff spot in previous season, and now they are the first team in the 24-25 season to clinch. The Jets should be right behind them. I don't think maybe they can do it as soon as, I think they needed 3 points. So they could do it as soon as Sunday against those Buffalo Sabres when they kick off the homestand. But the fact of the matter is, again, like I said, the reality is, and I think folks recognize this, we are observers. We observe what happened in the game and we talk about the game. And so the things that the Jets did well, or the players that excelled in the game, we'll talk about them. And if the folks who didn't, well, we won't, or we'll talk about some of the mistakes they've made. I'm sure Nino Niederreiter, as he is feeling good after, finally getting some contributions and being able to.
Beautiful pass on the Morrissey goal.
Yeah, and we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, of course, but you know, it's what plays like that you know, maybe can get a player out of it a little bit, because you know that, you know, I mean, he did it there. Mike McIntyre wrote, Mike, who's traveling on the road, wrote an extensive column for the Winnipeg Free Press, which of course will be in the morning papers tomorrow. I didn't get a chance to get it into the afternoon links but we will have it in the morning papers tomorrow. But let's kick this thing off. We do have 7 goals to discuss, so we'll start with a little thing called the Game Recap, brought to you by our friends at Play Now.
The Play Now Game Recap.
Learn to bet with Play Now, the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. Sign up and get up to $250 in bonus bets. Conditions apply. 18 plus. Enjoy responsibly. Well, as before we get into the actual recap, and of course, this is the Illegal Curve post-game show. I'm Dave Minuk. He's Ezzy Ginsburg. He's in his lavish pad. I'm, of course, in my usual abode. And we're here, Taurus, like we do every time. The 70th time we've done this season, talking about the Winnipeg Jets, which we do live after every single game. Make sure
it's
you
slowly. Sorry, Dave, to cut you off, but it's slowly
okay.
The season. It's slowly ticking away here. 70 of 82 games is pretty crazy. Like,
I know that.
As far as I'm concerned, like, you can drop the puck for the playoffs, like right now.
Yeah.
But there's also some really good playoff races. So I want to see how these playoff races unfold in the West and the Eastern Conference. But like, just you saying 70.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because it's a multiple of 10 or what, but it's just crazy that we're at that point in the season already.
For sure. And it's funny because when I did the game recap for illegalcurve.com, I thought, oof, already game 70. Like, it seems kind of crazy. And remember, the Jets and the Oilers haven't played since game 1. So it's been 69 games since the Jets have seen the Oilers, October 9th.
And they play again. We have another game between the Jets
April
and the Oilers.
13th. That's the one we just gave. Dave Funk was the lucky winner of the contest for tickets. So congratulations, Dave. He is going with 3 friends or family members, whoever he's lucky enough to take them, courtesy of our friends at Play Now in conjunction with IC. We gave him those tickets. Following us on social media, folks. That's what I was starting this with. Illegal Curve on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads. We do it all. So make sure you're following. And of course, on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. But before we get into the goal by goal recap brought to you by friends at Play Now, I'm just curious, did you expect that the Jets were going to keep the lines the same like they did, or did you think that he was going to kind of use the modified ones with Tanev and Iafallo up with Lowry and keeping Barron with Niederreiter and Appleton?
Yeah, the latter, Dave. I really did think that there was going to be a switch there, mainly because we saw the switch in game work instantly, right? When Alex Iafallo scored against the Canucks, right? So I did think there was going to be a switch there, and I am curious to see if, you know, there is going to be some tinkering with those lines going forward as the Jets kind of play some tougher competition here down the stretch and going into the playoffs. But, you know, I thought that, Barron IFL. I'm just looking at the shot attempts for and against 6-4. This is at even strength according to Natural Stat Trick. So Morgan Barron's line had 6 shot attempts versus 2.
Yep.
Which do you like to see? And then obviously the Lowry line was negative. It was 4 shot attempts versus 8 shot attempts.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like I didn't think it was the Lowry line's best game. I mean, obviously Niederreiter picked up the big assist on Morrissey's goal.
Yeah, coming out of the penalty box.
But so like, put it this way, Dave, nothing that happened in today's game made me change my mind, I would say. And, let's get the chat in here as well and get their opinions, because I mean, Brandon Tanev has been really impressive. Mm-hmm. And, if I can make a little additional income cleaning Kelly Moore's pool, I will absolutely do that. David Forster. It's a great virtual background. But I think Tanev can easily slip into a third line role. I think the guy for me there that you're demoting is Appleton. And I don't mean to pick on him or anything like that.
You're being honest.
But I think, Niederreiter, I don't think he necessarily, I think he has still kept his spot on the third line, Dave, I would say. Mm-hmm. And so for me, is that moving Iafallo up to that third line to play on the right side? Or are you using Tanev? Because obviously Tanev is playing on the left side now, right? Mm-hmm. On left wing. So I don't know. Are you moving Tanev to the right wing? I'm not sure. Like, because those things factor in, right? Like, guys like to play certain sides. Coaches like to use certain guys on certain sides, right? So I'm not sure. But yeah, to answer your question, I did think there was a chance that we might see that Lowry stick with Iafallo and Tanev. And I still have time for that, because the analytics were really impressive for that line in a short sample size.
Well, and so we talk about the Jets and what they chose to do. And then for the Oilers, there was questions with respect to more than just Leon Draisaitl, who, of course, didn't play. He's listed as day-to-day. But both Matthias Ekholm and Connor McDavid were listed as they weren't certain. That was from Ryan Rashad, I believe, said that. No, Jason Gregor said that yesterday. So we weren't certain. Of course, they both ended up playing. And so the Oilers started the way they did. And hey, Ezzy, they got off to a good start. Not a great start if you're a Winnipeg Jets fan, because Jeff Skinner, not Stuart Skinner, but Jeff Skinner, his older brother, but he, not really, but he ended up kind of not a great play by, I think it was Hayden Fleury who coughs up the puck. And that was to me, Ezzy, that was kind of a symptom of some of the problems in the game and how the Jets got burnt. Really, it was bad turnovers. We saw it on the goal by Zach Hyman when Luke Shen gave it away, but this is just a simple pass by Hayden Fleury. And it's a disconnected play. And so he doesn't pass it well, but I mean, I was shocked that goal beat Connor Hellebuyck, to be honest with you. And, you see it, and I think it was the second shot of the game for the Oilers. And you thought to yourself, oh boy, is this going to be a continuation of what, and I know that Hellebuyck wasn't like he was terrible in Vancouver, but it was more a question of like, what's going on here? Because that wasn't a particularly difficult shot by Skinner, and he saw it from distance.
Absolutely. And, you forget Jeff Skinner. I think I was on his Hockey DB earlier today. I think he's got 6 30-goal seasons or 7 30-goal seasons.
He's a goal scorer.
Something like that. And there's been a lot of talk in Edmonton about Skinner, and he's been disappointing this year.
Right.
Right. Because he was a big acquisition for them in the offseason, along with Victor Arvidsson, right? It was one of the reasons why they lost Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg, right, Dave? Mm-hmm. So Skinner's had a disappointing season, obviously not tonight, but I'm with you. I mean, obviously Hayden Fleury turns over the puck in the neutral zone, just not great management of the puck there.
Yeah.
But to me, this is just, I think, a shot that you expect Hellebuyck to routinely save. And it was a nice shot. And honestly, there's kind of similarities between the Oilers' first goal and the Jets' overtime winner. Kind of similar, like distance, right? Like not exactly obviously the Connor goal was 3-on-3 and this one's a 5-on-5 goal, but kind of similar just in terms of the distance and kind of just maybe catching the goaltender. Now talking about the back to the first goal that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Hellebuyck, I don't know if he wasn't ready for it, if he thought like, I don't know, his blocker side, like we've kind of talked about that. The book if there is a book on Connor Hellebuck, because he doesn't allow a lot of goals, it's been the blocker side, right? We've talked about that over the years.
Yep.
That is kind of where he could be a little susceptible. But yeah, just not a goal that you expect to be scored on Hellebuck. But, congrats to Skinner, and, kudos to him. He's a sniper, like we talked about. I mean, he scored 30 goals 6 or 7 times, and, got the Oilers obviously off to the hot start. But I just didn't think the Jets were that sharp in the first. Like, they were using speed. I remember I made a note, the Scheifele line had a good chance where Kyle Connor was in front. He just missed the net. And so I think that they were using their speed, but I just thought they were a little bit too loose. Mm-hmm. And I don't necessarily know. Like, we've always talked about this, but like when the Jets are at their best, they're playing a very structured game, moving the puck efficiently out of their own zone. And then obviously on this play, it's just, you can't do that against a team like the Oilers, even without Draisaitl in the lineup.
Yeah. And the Jets, like I said, the one thing I thought that was humming along today was the PK. And we should mention that Cole Perfetti took that penalty early in the game, and the Jets killed the early I think it was high sticking penalty.
It was high sticking, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a high sticking penalty to Cole Perfetti. I think it was like on minute 58 into just under the 2-minute mark. So he takes that penalty, they kill it, and like we said, then Jeff Skinner gets the goal. So it's a 1-0 game for the Oilers. And at this point, it's kind of low event. Like, there's not a ton happening yet. And then sure enough, as the roomies, they're just continuing to be simpatico, and Nikolai Ehlers, nice entry into the zone. Dylan Sandberg again, just get it on, hard shot onto the pass, hoping probably, I suspect, kind of a shot rebound with the expectation of hoping for a rebound. Cole Perfetti, his 15th goal of the season, so he gets goal number 15. He ties up the game for the Winnipeg Jets, and I made a note of this, since Ezzy's not the only one who makes notes, folks. But as you know, as everybody knows, I love to take my little Dave Perry, what do we call it, Ezzy? Minutia. Yeah, and so he has matched his points total with 18, which is what he had in 6. I think he did about 30, 40 less games this year. But real nice play by Dylan Sandberg. And 48th game this year in 78. So 30 fewer games for Dylan Sandberg to match his points total for last year. So one of the things we wondered about, Ezzy, was would he be able to bring offense to a guy we know is good defensively? And we're seeing that from Dylan Sandberg this year. The Jets tie it on Cole Perfetti's 15th.
Yeah, first and foremost, I love any time there's a scoring play that it's Sandberg, Perfetti from Sandberg, or Sandberg for Perfetti, because of the roommate connection there. Just absolutely love those guys. Sandberg is just playing with so much confidence. You'd love to see it. And this is just a smart play, right? Like, as you mentioned, it starts off with some speed in the Jet zone from Nikolai Ehlers, brings in the puck with Nemesnikov, and so it's a 3-on-3, 4-on-4 situation, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
And to me, I believe it was Zach Hyman who just kind of lost Perfetti there. Like, Perfetti was just kind of lurking a little bit, Dave.
Yeah.
Not scrum lurking, but he was lurking a little bit. And I'm pretty sure it was Hyman. Yeah, it was Hyman. I'm watching the replay here on my screen.
Just
and
sure.
he's
an accuracy here on the show.
He's just wide open, and there's just no back pressure on him. Like, well, Hyman was there, but there was just nobody covering him, so he's wide open. But to me, that's just great awareness by Dylan Sandberg, putting that puck on the net, knowing that he's shooting the puck to get that rebound. And I just thought Perfetti read that perfectly. So it was a nice little play. Not the fanciest goal, but just I thought a well-executed goal to get them back tied up.
And once again, it's, we see the value of Vlad Nemesnikov, because he does what he's supposed to do, which is push towards the goal and draw the defenseman with him to free up that space. And really, 3 guys are basically watching Nemesnikov, and he kind of gets a chance. He tries to make a play on the pass or the shot from Sandberg. But again, what does he do successfully? He takes the attention off of Cole Perfetti, and then, or as we like to call him, as a goal Perfetti, with his 15th of the year. So he ties the game 1-1 in Edmonton. And so you're thinking, okay, well, that stemmed the tide, that stopped the bleeding for a little bit until the second period. And then, Jeff Skinner again. Well, really, it's that Connor McDavid fella who got his 64th assist 5 minutes and 30 seconds into the second period. Connor McDavid takes the puck and does Connor McDavid things, kind of circles around the net, puts it in front. And there's like an army of Jets in front of Connor Hellebuck. And Colin Miller decides, I'm going to box him into my goaltender, not out of the crease. So we'll talk about the decision and what you thought, and whether you agree with Matty Prefontaine or not. But Connor McDavid showing you what he
I
can
always trust in Matty Prefontaine, Dave. I always believe in him.
That makes sense. But the entirety of the Jets' second line, plus, like I said, the defensemen are in front of Connor Hellebuck on this play, and Connor McDavid puts it in front to try and find one of his guys. And sure enough, the thought is that it was a Nikolai Ehlers touched it as per Dan Robertson after Jeff Skinner got it, but Jeff Skinner gets credit, and it is the second goal of the game. For now, of course, we're going to talk about the challenge, but how did you see this goal, kind of the breakdown from the Jets?
Yeah, no, I think you did a good job of breaking it down there, Dave. I mean, like it's obviously, Connor McDavid's speed directly results in, this play here. I mean, obviously we'll get into the goalie interference here, but he's pushing the Jets back.
Yeah.
Oilers go to the net. I mean, it's a weird play because, like you said, Jeff Skinner doesn't get all of it. Colin Miller actually, like, you could see live and you can see on the replay, like he gets a stick on a little bit and just kind of floats into the net past Hellebuck, right? Like it's not a very nice goal, but just getting it, because I obviously knew we'd be spending some time, and sure we're going to be hearing it from the chat here. This one I think was very close, right? Like, there's some goalie interference calls where you're like, okay, that's for sure coming back. Where was the one that we saw recently, Dave? I'm trying to remember that came against where the goal was called back. It was in Winnipeg. I have to forget. Maybe the chat will back me up.
I mean, they've had about 5 or 6 successful ones this year.
Well, it was recent though. I want to say it was within the last week and a half, 2 weeks, where a goal was called back, where there was some interference on Connor Hellebuck, and it was called back. But I understand why.
Oh, the Barron one.
There we go. Yeah.
Thank
the
you,
Snacktoba. See, look, the chat. Oh, I've said this time and time again. The chat bails me out, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not me that makes me look good. It's the chat that makes me look good, Dave. Well, I guess my virtual background a little bit here, but thank you, Snackatoba, who always makes me hungry just with his display name. But I understand, Dave, why, like I said, why Matt Prefontaine challenges this play, and you could tell. I mean, it took a while for them to figure this one out. Anytime it's a long review, that there's a good chance it's coming back. So I think it was discussed on the broadcast. I think what it comes down to is, did Hellebuck have enough time after Zach Hyman was pushed into him a little bit and interfered with, right? I think that's what it ultimately comes down to, because there's no doubt that there's some goaltender interference there, right?
Oh, there is.
Like
it's just to me, it's a function of whether Colin Miller, created that interference.
Yes, that's part of it, but also was there enough time after that little bit of interference and it was a split second. It's not like we're talking about there was a lot of time, like 5 seconds here. But you're absolutely right, Dave. I think that was also a part of it. And it's really a judgment call at that point, in terms of, like, there's some incidental contact between Colin Miller and Zach Hyman. And that ultimately is probably why it was called no goal. But I think that it was close enough that I think you take that risk and you take the penalty. And obviously, I think there was no shots, if I'm not mistaken, on that ensuing power play.
No,
it was no shots or one shot. I made a note of it here. I should look at my notes, but the reality is the Jets killed it off, so they weren't down 3-1. That could have been, really problematic for the Jets. But I think that's what it came down to, like you said, Dave. It's that Miller kind of forced the contact between Hyman and Hellebuck, and then obviously there was maybe just a little bit of time there that passed. I guess that's kind of my take on it. But
no, I mean, to me, like I said, when I saw it, I thought, I saw the goal and I thought, are the Jets going to challenge? And I thought, remember, it's called a good goal, so you have to overturn it. And Miller pushes Hyman in, who then hits Hellebuck, and you could see he doesn't have a chance to reset. But really, I mean, but for the push, there's no problem there. So I thought it was I didn't think it was going to be overturned. But I also think that that's a coaching staff showing their goaltender that they've got his back. And, the team subsequently bails him out. And they, as I said on the old Twitter machine, Dean Shinwith would call that a power kill, because, could they get a boost from it. And not only do they get a boost from it, they did in fact get a boost from it, I should say. Morgan Barron, that long range passing specialist, he gets it over to Nino Niederreiter, who was serving the penalty for, of course, delay of game, because with the unsuccessful challenge, they then go to the penalty kill. So Niederreiter gets the pass from Barron, who puts it up. And again, Nino Niederreiter's been struggling and hasn't scored in like, a million years. It's just a perfectly executed pass, and credit Josh Morrissey, who I thought he's back in his home province of Alberta, even though it's not his home city. And you can just see how good his skating is. Like, when you watch, you just appreciate how good a skater Josh Morrissey is. It really is. Like, again,
I hope he gets significant Norris. I know he got Norris consideration last year.
Yeah.
I obviously don't think he's going to win it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of this guy, Cale Makar, Dave. He's kind of good. So I think it might be Cale Makar's trophy this year. But I hope he gets more consideration, because I don't get tired of talking about it, because I think, Morrissey deserves all the accolades he gets, including on this play. He obviously factored into the overtime goal as well. Just going back to Professor Haleko and his comment, I think there is an argument to be made that Zach Hyman did go in to the crease on his own, and then after he's in the crease, Miller pushes him. So that's what I'm saying. That's why I think this one's very close. Like, even with video review, you watch it and you're like, I honestly, Dave, the way I would, just to wrap up here talking about that goalie interference review.
Well, look, I mean, the chat is fired up about it. So, we always default to what the chat.
Have we figured out if Matt Hyman and Zach Hyman are related, by the way? Could be.
Obviously,
yeah,
that's fair. Well, he is advocating for him, so maybe there's some relation.
Yeah, but I really think, like, the way I would kind of sum up that one, Dave, my expert, and when I say expert, I use that term very loosely. Yeah. I would say that call could have gone either way.
Sure.
Like I was watching that game, obviously, like we all were, and I'm thinking I could see that goal getting called back. And then when they didn't call it back, I was kind of like, I wasn't shocked. Yeah. Because I feel like those are the ones, like, remember it was reported by the insiders this week that they were reviewing all the goalie interference calls, and like most of them stood up, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously the Connor Geeky Hellebuck one was the worst one of them all. That was one of the most egregious goalie interference. That was obvious. Mm-hmm. So I could see it going either way. And obviously the Jets persevered and they ended up winning this game regardless. But I think that one, you would almost have to break that one down. Like, you would have to have like multiple angles and cameras, and you'd have to, like, you could easily, like, there could be a university course taught on that one. Like, because that one was not an easy one to call.
Well, okay. But like I said, so the Jets have a successful kill, a huge kill, because like you said, it very easily could have been 3-1. That would have been a big momentum swing for the Oilers. Instead, the Jets get the successful kill. Josh Morrissey, his 11th goal of the season. Beautiful. Like I said, I was applauding his skating, but just also his sense to say, like Kevin mentioned on the broadcast, hey, here's an opportunity for me to go north along with Nino Niederreiter and get into the play. Sure enough, he does. Keeps the stick on the ice and just pushes it past Skinner to make it a 2-2 game. And should I, but as sticking with the minutia angle, because I thought this was big with this goal, folks, everybody listen to this, is Josh Morrissey is now Jets 2.0 all-time points leader among defensemen, moving past Dustin Byfuglien, the big buff.
Well, that's huge.
He's now alone in 6th on the overall list with 364 points, 77 goals, 287 assists. So Josh Morrissey has the most points all time for a Jets defenseman, 2.0.
You love to see it. You love to see it. And you know that Big Buff is super pumped up for number 44, right? Wherever he might be.
Fishing somewhere.
Yeah, probably fishing. Even though it's kind of in between seasons right now, Dave, right? Like, I don't know.
He's not on the ice. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I was going to say there's not a lot of ice fishing happening right now.
Oh, you can still do it a little bit on the lake, but the rivers are done.
Yeah, it's got to be pretty shallow, I guess, right? But we're not a fishing show, fortunately enough, even though Dave M is an experienced fisherman. I am not. But, you mentioned Morgan Barron. I mean, you'd love to see it. People who watch our show regularly know that we're big fans of Morgan Barron. And I mean, Morgan Barron, like, you forget, like, this guy was a prolific scorer in college, right? Like, he's on a 4th-line Jets team right now. But Morgan Barron is not, like, this guy has skills, right? So, like, the pass that he made to Kyle Connor last game, was that last game or against Seattle? I forget. The stretch pass, Dave.
Yeah,
these games are starting to blend together. But it was a really nice.
No, it wasn't last game. It was against Seattle.
It was against Seattle, right? Like that pass was one of the nicest passes I've ever seen, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's a nice pass up to Cole Perfetti here, up to Nino Niederreiter. And Niederreiter deserves a lot of credit for that pass that he puts on Josh Morrissey's stick, who obviously, as you mentioned, Dave, he puts the rocket skates on and he gets up into the play, making it a 2-on-1. I just thought, like, again, watching the replay, like Darnell Nurse, like Passenger, like I realized that, the Oilers have had a bit of an up and down season, but, that you look at the Brandon Tanev goal, which we'll get into momentarily here, like Evan Bouchard kind of just standing around in front of the net. Like, just thought the Oilers, like, Darnell Nurse, like he knows Josh Morrissey's coming up the middle. Like Darnell Nurse is back there. Like, he's a little bit like high in the play, but like he knows Josh Morrissey's coming and he's kind of just slow to react. But good on Nino Niederreiter here, because I think obviously Niederreiter was in a position where he could easily shot, but he put that puck exactly where he needed to, right on the tape. So it was a really nice goal.
Okay, well, and here's some more questions for the folks. Who is the Jets 1.0 points leader for defensemen? And
can I say?
Well, you can get a guess in once I say, but he just, and Josh, I'll give you this clue. Josh Morrissey's eclipsed him in points. Although he has more goals than Morrissey, he had 86 goals and 249 assists in 496 games for the Winnipeg Jets, 1.0, of course. So which defenseman was it? Okay, so we got JB Brown says Housley. Phyllis says Carlisle.
It's not Housley, because
Beer Leaguer saying Tempo Numanen.
Well, just a second. Housley didn't play enough for the Jets.
It's not Housley. No, it wasn't Housley.
Housley had like 100 points that year that Solani had 76 goals. Yeah, but he didn't play long enough. I know.
Well, Phil Housley had 259 points, but I think not quite in this. And I haven't seen the guess yet. We got a lot of Housley guesses. Tempo Numanen. Nope. Dave Ellett. Incorrect. Is your boy Bruce goes with Sergei Bowden.
I want to say it. Can I say it?
Well, no, I think, hold on. Let's keep, I'm waiting for some more guesses. Let's get some more guesses in, folks. Tempo Numanen, no. JB Brown. Peter Taglianetti, no, but I love that guess. Love that name. Keep going. Oh, well, we got to make sure the.
Well, I see it. Somebody's guessed it. Guessed it.
Okay. As he knows what the answer is.
Yeah, I know what the guess is.
Sean Cronin. Well, I don't think number 44 was a defenseman, was he? But
well, disgruntled Wheats got it here, but it's
no. You're not supposed to. Don't give the answer up.
Okay.
Dave Babbage is close, Leslie. Dave Babbage is the second most points for a defenseman.
Wow, there's some great references.
One Bird got it. One Bird gets it, even though I know someone else got it, but One Bird spelled it right. So we're gonna go Freddie Olesen.
Yes. Number 4.
Number 4. Do you remember when we had Freddie Olesen, to segue a little bit?
Yes,
when we got him on 1290.
Yes, I wasn't on the show. I didn't get to interview him, but I remember it was you and I think maybe even Maddie Leibel, the rabbi, might have popped in.
Might have been.
I knew it was one of two guys. I knew it was Freddie Olesen or Teppo. Teppo must have been third then, Dave.
It was. Hold on, I'll give everyone the rundown. So it was Freddie Olesen, 335 points. Dave Babbage, brother of Wayne Babbage, 321 points. Randy Carlisle at 306, and then Dave Ellett at 299.
That's the best comment by One Bird. I didn't even hear the question.
That's amazing. So One Bird was just thinking about Freddie O and decided to write it down. But yeah, so it was Freddie O, the Swedish defenseman. Did Freddie Olesen wear number 4 as?
Yeah, didn't he?
Yeah. I want to say he wore number 4. Big slap shot.
I remember when, like, as kids, my sister and I remember we, I don't remember exactly where we were, but we noticed it was Freddie Olesen driving behind us.
Yeah.
And I remember we waved at him and waved back. Like, Freddie Olesen was beloved. He always had a big smile on his face. Like, he was a very underrated defenseman. Like, he wasn't, like, obviously, like,
did the Jets trade him to the Penguins? Or did they get him from the Penguins?
I feel like he went to the Oilers. Here, let me hockey DB that for a second.
This show is really taking a turn. Come on, folks, in the chat.
No. But Dave, I mean, this is why I love doing the show. I mean, I love the non sequiturs. I love the fact that we're talking about Freddie Olesen.
As
Edmonton, right?
He went to the Oilers, then he went to the Ducks, Then he went to, but he was with the Penguins, and then he went back to the Ducks before he went back overseas. Freddie Olsen, and yeah, if you want to listen to that 1290 interview, I'm sure it's on a little site called illegalcurve.com.
Like, Dave, if you want to go further down this rabbit hole, we can talk about like when the Jets had both Shannon brothers, Darren and Daryl.
I remember that.
We can talk about Boris Mironov, like, you know,
Darren wore 34.
Yep.
I can't remember or was it Daryl wore 34? No, Darren wore 34.
Darren was 34. I want to say Daryl Shannon was like a higher number for a defenseman, but I don't remember. 27 maybe. But we're really far down that rabbit hole when we're talking about the Shannon brothers. I'm pretty sure we had Darren Shannon back in the TSN 1290 days. We went on a nice little run there around the Heritage Classic.
First of all, Kung Fu Buffalo has to get a Luciano Borsato reference.
We had him on the show as well. I mean, he was a really nice guy. He came into the league. I believe Luciano Borsato came into the league the same year Teemu Selanne did, right? Because it was Borsato, Zamnov, Selanne, Evgeny Davidov. I mean, now we're really cooking, Dave.
Do you remember one of the first Russians who came? Sergei Harin. I think he wore number 8.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think he didn't really produce that much at the NHL level.
No.
I remember he had like one of the...
He was the Oleg Tverdovsky of the Jets.
Yeah. That's another good reference. Yeah. Tverdovsky, the very unpopular Selanne trade.
I felt bad for that kid because, I mean, that was the worst position. Anyways, we are so far. Drew would not be happy with the way we have taken this show. So let's get back. I mean, as everyone on this show knows, we got plenty of love for Igor Ulanov, of course. I mean,
the chat right now is just literally people naming 1.0 Jets players. It's great. Like, we got Hanu Yarvin.
Dave Manson. Here. Love Dave Manson. Dave Manson wore number 3, if I recall correctly, right? With the big shot.
Dave Manson. I think he was 4 too.
Was he? I thought he was number 3.
I remember in the last year of the Jets 1.0, or the second last year of Jets 1.0, remember he won the hardest shot competition at the NHL All-Star game, because back then they would bring guys in that weren't actually in the All-Star game.
That's right.
So I remember as a kid, as a Jets fan, I thought that was the coolest that Dave Manson won the hardest shot.
Dean Kennedy.
Blaine Clark is saying Ian Slam Duncan. We had him on. Obviously, it was under unfortunate circumstances. That was after Dale Hawerchuk died, because Ian Duncan and Dale Hawerchuk were close. Yeah. So we had him on the show. But yeah, I mean, this is so.
Look at all these names: Gord Donnelly, Jim Kite, Darren Quint. Okay, this is JB Brown played against Dave Manson. He said he was crazy.
This is the best day of my life.
Maro Marawa, Andrew McBain. There were lots of good names.
And Blaine, it wasn't Budsy, it was Butsy.
Yeah, Butsy. Yeah, I like fucking Loaded just said, when the cat's away, i.e. Drew's away, Ezzy and I will do that. David said, Drew is out there losing it. Just wait till we do a Manuk Moves minute there. David.
Who cares, Dave? This is the the Manuk Ginsburg experience. Okay. Drew is helpless right now. He has no control. We've got the keys to the car, baby.
That's true. That is true. And this is, even though it was a late game, it's not that late. We're still on the 20th of March.
Where are we here? Are we on the Tanev goal? I think we're on the 3-2 goal.
We're about to get to 3-2, but just, to reset everything. This of course is a bizarro Illegal Curve post-game show. I'm Dave Manuk. He's Ezzy Ginsburg. We're breaking down the Jets game like we do each and every time the Jets are in action. And now into the third period, Ezzy. Jets now, I will say though, worth noting, the power play was powerless, and they get a 5-on-3 opportunity with 1:03 to go in the first penalty to who had the penalty that it was Nurse. Ekholm still had 1:03 left in his when Darnell Nurse took the Velarde roughing penalty, which he seemed stunned by, and the Jets had that early 5-on-3 in the third.
And it wasn't a full, obviously. No. What was it, like a 55-second 5-on-3 or something like that? Or 103, sorry.
Yeah.
It was not a good 5-on-3 for the Jets. No. And obviously,
they got one shot, I think.
Yeah, and it didn't get set up. It was mentioned on the broadcast by Kevin Sawyer. Like, Kyle Connor was obviously looking dangerous and moving, but it was a little bit too static.
Yes.
And 15, 20 games ago, the Jets, I think, the way they were humming along with their power play, that's an automatic goal. So obviously, you take note of that. Yeah. But just getting to the Brandon Tanev goal, you just love the fact that this line just they are killer bees in front of the net, Dave. I know we like to refer to ourselves as the killer bees of illegal
We're the worker bees.
We're the worker bees. But Tanev, Barron, and IFL, these guys are killer bees around the net. And like, I just love the fact that they wouldn't be denied here, right? Like they were hacking and whacking, and Tanev had a chance, and then Barron wrapped the puck around, and then Tanev kept the puck in, and then it ends up coming back to Hayden Fleury, and all three guys are towards the front of the net, and IFL is whacking at Nurse, and Evan Bouchard he's not battling with Brandon Tanev. And that's what I'm kind of saying here. I understand why we had a few people in the chat talking about Edmonton Sports Talk, our friends at Edmonton Sports Talk, who had Drew on, by the way. I'm not sure if they don't have our numbers, Dave. But Edmonton Sports Talk, holler at us. We're good buddies with Dustin Nielsen. So I'm obviously joking, but I'm not. Seriously, I want to be on. I need the notoriety. No, but I mean, I just love, like, I know these goals aren't sexy goals that are going to get on highlight reels.
Yeah.
But like, I just love, like, these are the types of goals that fourth lines get. So I just love it. I think Tanev has fit in so nicely. I think we all thought he was going to fit in nicely. And I just love the pressure that the Jets had on Edmonton. Edmonton had three players in front of the net there. To me, it's just like Evan Bouchard gets beat out by Brandon Tanev. That to me is just Tanev saying, no, that's my puck. I'm going to score the goal here. And at the time, obviously, it was a big goal. And yeah, I just love the look of this fourth line. I don't see them breaking this up, especially after last game when we saw Lowry between these guys. But it's just so important, Dave, to get contributions from your bottom lines, especially in a game in which, like the Scheifele line was good tonight. The Nemesnikov was good tonight. I wouldn't say they were great. So, I just love that the Jets got a variety of different goals tonight and from a variety of lines. And yeah, just again, I just thought it was the hard work of Tanev paying off here.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, the energy that the fourth line brings is significant, especially when you add a guy like Brandon Tanev, who, as I jokingly said, manages to lose a stick, fall, and hit someone at least once every shift, it seems like. But there's always some sort of activity when he is on the ice, number 73. And, I mean, again, going back to the Manuk Shazzy, that was his first goal of the regular season for the Winnipeg Jets since March 28th, 2019. So it was almost 6 years between goals for Brandon Tanev. I don't know what took him so long to score a goal in a Jets jersey as, but regardless, that was timely, at least for a bit. And then some injury news for the Oilers. I mean, it was kind of a weird game in that regard, right? Like you had...
I'm not sure what happened, Dave. I'm not sure if you saw anything, but I don't know what happened to McDavid. It was weird.
Oh, no, sorry, not McDavid. I was going to say the Stuart Skinner one first.
Skinner, right.
So Velarde gets hammered into Skinner, and the reason why they didn't try and kick the crap out of Velarde is because they knew that he got pushed into. I think it was Nurse pushed him in, so he hit Skinner. And it was interesting. Skinner was down for a bit. Then the Jets took possession, but they didn't blow the whistle. Play continued. And then, of course, and now fast forward, Nemesnikov gets hurt and he collides. And we talked about that in the preamble. And of course, Connor McDavid, I didn't see what happened to him specifically. I read the chat though, and they were saying that on the broadcast, or some folks in the Oilers room were saying that something happened with Josh Morrissey. So I'm not exactly certain what happened, but we know that he wasn't on the bench to start the third period.
Well, and they also didn't show anything on the broadcast. Like, I don't think they, at least, I mean, I was watching, I should remember, but sometimes I get up, go for a snack.
No. All they said was, they're saying that Josh B. Henderson saying Josh Morrissey got McDavid good in the wrist, not intentional, just a bad hack.
Okay.
So that would explain it. And like I had already mentioned, we know that, Connor McDavid was nursing something because he was somewhat questionable for this game. So then after Stuart Skinner went down, Calvin Pickard, the Winnipegger, he gets in the net, and he's been playing pretty well for the Oilers of late.
17 wins on the season, Dave. Pretty good.
17 wins on the season. So he gets in with just 4 minutes and 57 seconds to go in the hockey game. So you're like, okay, well that doesn't seem very good for business.
By the way, can I just step in here for 1 second before we get into the Hyman goal here?
Yes.
Some people are asking why Connor Hellebuyck didn't get warm-up shots, Because that's something that kind of, it kind of reminds you of baseball, right, Dave? Like, I forget which Oiler player
Connor
was born.
Connor, what do you mean?
Sorry. Some people in the chat were asking, like when Calvin Pickard came in, an Oiler player, I forget who it was shooting pucks on him. Practice pucks. Yeah. But some people were asking why when during it was the Seattle game, people are asking why Connor Hellebuck didn't get that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it has anything to do with because Comrie was being pulled for the concussion issue. I don't have an answer for that because I don't remember Connor Hellebuck getting any practice shots. Is it because it's later in the game versus earlier in the game? All I'm saying is we have to do a little bit of research. But I forget who it was in the chat was asking about that. I don't have the right answer for that, but I do always get a kick out of it, Dave, when a goalie comes in, especially late in the game, and then you get a couple, just a couple like little practice shots in there.
Yeah.
It's because it reminds you of like when a relief pitcher comes in and he gets to throw some balls, right?
For sure. And so the Jets, you think, okay, well, the Jets have the lead and now they've got the backup goaltender, so they should be okay. But a sloppy pass by Luke Schenn to Dylan Sandberg. And then, here's an instance where really you don't like the way either guy played it because Zach Hyman's by himself. So there's two Jets, there's Luke Schenn, there's Dylan Sandberg. Both are standing in front of Connor Hellebuck. Neither is really taking Zach Hyman, and Zach Hyman is allowed to unmolested get in and take that rebound from the shot and deposit into the back of the Jets net to tie the game at 3-up.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. You mentioned it, Dave. You can't talk about this goal without talking. It's just miscommunication between Schenn and Sandberg, right?
Yep.
And we've all agreed that Schenn and Sandberg, even though that might not be the pairing going forward, because we expect Pionk to go back on that second pair with Sandberg. Yeah, it's just a little miscommunication, right? Like Luke Schenn, it's not a nice pass. It's like to be.
No, it's
completely honest. It's not a nice pass to Sandberg, so I'm not going to blame Sandberg. If anything, I would blame Schenn on that one. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's just Zach Hyman, a guy who gets a lot of goals from that spot, right? Like he's not a 50 goal scorer by mistake. He just kind of beats out Sandberg in front of the net there. It's a rebound, right? So, I mean, there's not much more to say than that. You got to be a little bit cleaner with the way you're managing the puck in your own zone.
Yeah.
And then it's just a shot and a rebound, like a goal that you see all the time in hockey, right? Mm-hmm. So that was kind of the story of this game. Like there wasn't a lot of shots. It was not a high event game. I don't even think we mentioned the high danger shots or high danger chances. They were like, I'm surprised to see that it was 14-11. It was 14-11 in favor of the Oilers. Like, I think they were being being a little bit generous with those high danger chances.
Well, there were a number of rush. There were a number. I mean, the Jets had how many 2-on-1s as? I want to say like there were 3.
They had at least 3. Yeah.
Yeah. 3 2-on-1. So, I mean, there were a lot of opportunities, but ultimately 3-all, this game is going to need overtime. And sure enough, as I said off the top to kick off the show, as the Jets, Kyle Connor, he has scored many a game-winning goal. Nobody has more game-winning goals in a Jets 2.0 uniform than number 81, Kyle Connor. And he gets his 37th of the year with assists to Mark Scheifele and Josh Morrissey. But, I mean, what can you say about Kyle Connor other than hold on 1 second. Uno momento, por favor.
I was about to hit it.
I was about to go. We got to give a little shout out to
the Seagram shot of the game.
Manitoba's favorite Canadian whiskey, Seagram's 83. So no doubt about it, that was a well-deserving one for Kyle Connor because
my fingers were on the button there, by the way, Dave, because I wasn't sure. I thought maybe sometimes we forget about the Seagram shot of the game. I never do because Seagram's is so delicious, and I'm always thinking about their line of delicious whiskey products, especially Fireball, which goes down very easy for this guy right here. Yeah, I mean, what a goal. I mean, what a shot. Like, we've talked about this so many times. I feel like Kyle Connor's release, talking about like, that goalie interference call could have been a university course. I feel like there could be an entire university course just taught on Kyle Connor's release.
Yeah.
You could tell when Josh Morrissey, it was Scheifele that dropped the puck to Morrissey had the zone entry. Was it Morrissey or Scheifele?
Morrissey brought
Morrissey
it in.
brought it in, and then Scheifele dropped it.
Yeah.
But you could almost see, you could like sense it. You could see that Kyle Connor was thinking shot, right? Because he obviously could have held onto that puck and then maybe tried to go back to Mark Scheifele. But like you said, Dave, what else can you say? Really, 37 goals. I mean, Kyle Connor's easily going to hit 40. Hoping that he gets closer to 45. I think 50 is a little bit out of reach at this point, but
he's
easily going to hit 40. And we've seen him score how many overtime goals over the years? Another thing to mention too, Dave, in addition to the nice goal by Connor, love that Dylan Samberg started overtime on defense. Not a guy that you see start. I think that also had a lot to do with the late power play, right? Because the first unit was out there, Dave. So I think that's maybe why Morrissey didn't start overtime.
Yeah.
But I just took a note of that because Samberg's obviously playing the best hockey of his career. He's playing with a ton of confidence. That's just another example of how much trust Scott Arniel has in him to start him in overtime.
Well, as is the chat has alerted us, Drew is currently monitoring the show, so we have to be on our best behavior. I'm shocked he doesn't know that you're at the house, but I guess when you have a house as big and as palatial as Drew's, he lost track of the fact that you're in one of the wings of his mansion. So
what do you mean though he's monitoring the show?
Apparently, because he wrote a comment using the IC one, which is not really the best form because it makes it look like it's coming from you and I, and we weren't even though he did disclaim it and say it was Drew, but ultimately
hold on, Drew somehow got into the chat, but he's not, like, we can't see him. Like for those who don't know, we have a little backstage area, so if somebody pops in, we can see them. So you're saying that Drew somehow is managing to post comments, but he's not in our back. He hasn't officially entered StreamYard. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. But he could be doing it through YouTube, Bez, just so you know. That's a little secret even you apparently aren't aware of.
Yeah, this is the comment here. This is the one you're talking about, right?
Exactly. Well, I mean, unless I wrote that, but yes, that is correct.
I mean, if Drew's posting these comments, why doesn't he come on the show? I don't understand.
But I'm pretty sure you've posted comments before and you haven't been on the show.
That's my favorite. Well, usually that's when I'm with my kids and I'm like, okay, I got to watch the show and get my little comments.
Now Drew's being respectful. He switched to his Drew M account. Now, Drew, please, like I'm going to insist on everybody else do, make sure you're subscribing and make sure you smash that like button.
Drew M. What is that? Who does he think he is? Dave M?
Yeah, that's a little bit unexpected. Well, it's been a fun one. We've still got some more show to go, so don't go anywhere. We're gonna hear from our sponsors, including Drew. Do you want to take it? Should we let Drew take it away? Maybe he's on the show. Drew,
absolutely not. No, this is our time to shine, baby.
All right. Well, let's hear from our sponsors. Some few words from them, and then when we come back, we'll wrap up with our thoughts, and maybe I'll give you a little Manuk Moose minute or
absolutely.
Minutes.
We want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime, visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre. Holt Dental, the new official dentist of Illegal Curve, has a philosophy rooted in two unyielding principles: genuinely caring about patients and providing outstanding service. Being a patient of Holt Dental means more than just checkups and treatments. It's taking the time to listen and talk to each patient so they can achieve the best long-term health, functionality, and aesthetics for their teeth, mouth, and gums. Conveniently located at Grant Park Festival on Taylor Avenue, Holt Dental is dentistry of the highest quality in a comfortable and relaxed environment. For more information, visit holtdental.ca. Oh, and there's plenty of free parking at the front door, too. Celebrating its 40th year as Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best and most affordable live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For more information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. I'm your kind of host, Dave Minuk. He's my main man, Ezzy Ginsburg.
Dave, what you are is you're the best host we've ever had on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. That's what you are. I mean, you're articulate. You're good looking.
Wow.
You say the right things. You're insightful. You know when to we read off each other very well. By the way, can we talk about these little text messages that Drew's sending us? Like Drew's sending us text messages that he can't come on the show. It's like, Drew, we get it. Like, you're not part of the show tonight. Like, just sit back and enjoy the Minuk Ginsburg experience.
Yeah, just be like everybody else in the chat. It's just sit back, relax, and enjoy some beautiful magic. But look, the Jets win, not the prettiest of wins, and they'll have some things to work on. They won't be working on it tomorrow. They are off tomorrow. Speaking of tomorrow, though, Ez, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, well, I'll give you an opportunity before I start talking about tomorrow. Any final thoughts on tonight's game, the win overall, the road trip? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think a successful road trip. Like, I obviously understand the Canucks game was not good. I think you got to give the Canucks a lot of credit. They are fighting for their playoff lives.
Yep.
So, I mean, of the 3 games, I don't think that you love the Canucks game. I mean, again, I think considering, a 3-game West Coast road trip, I think you get 4 of 6 points, pretty successful. I really like the contributions Tanev and Iafallo make, obviously, scoring some goals. So they're obviously going to get the day off, and then, they're going to get Buffalo on Sunday, which is obviously going to be a very easy game for them. I mean, you don't want to overlook it. I mean, I how much I hate when people call these games trap games.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I mean, the Jets are still finding ways to win, right? I mean, they against Seattle, it was a slow start for them. They got behind, but they ended up scratching and clawing back. And I think, a big narrative for me, and I realize, some people might be sick of hearing about it, but I'm certainly not, is that Dylan Samberg and Cole Perfetti, the younger core parts of this team, continue to elevate their games.
Well, and sorry, just to quickly interject, if you didn't read Connor Rabchak's piece on Illegal Curve, he's got a great piece on Dylan Samberg that he wrote for the website yesterday. So be sure to check that out. It's in the morning papers if you didn't see it, but that's on illegalcurve.com.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I think, it was, it had the potential to maybe not be the best road trip. Like we said, I mean, Oilers get out to the lead, but, I still think that the Jets are playing the way that they want to play. I think there's definitely things that they can clean up, and, the special teams, I think, again, they're not maybe firing at the same, they're not producing at the same rate. The power play isn't, I should say. But, I think Hellebuck rebounded really well from the game against Vancouver, even though I think we both agree that first Jeff Skinner goal wasn't a great goal on Hellebuck. But I think, the Jets are still in a great position here. It was great news. We should mention that Pionk, it sounds like he's maybe a little bit ahead of schedule. There's been a lot of rumors flying around, Dave. I'm not sure if you're seeing those rumors too about, broken foot and everything like that. Obviously it's a lower body injury, right? But
he was there was a picture of him in a walking boot.
Yeah. But we don't know if it's actually like a broken foot or what it is.
People oftentimes will push for that kind of stuff. I'm like, what does it make any difference?
No, exactly. He's going to come back when he's going to come back, right?
They're not going to tell us. They're not going to give you guys any sort of insight. I mean, like I said, it's just there's no value. Like, I could tell you it's X, but what does it make a difference? Like, we know they're going to give you a general answer. It's probably not going to be accurate. Week to week usually means a month with this organization so far. We've seen 2 guys. Morgan Barron was week to week. Adam Lowry was week to week. Both guys required a month. Hayden Fleury might have been week to week. He also, I think, was a month. So, I mean, you're never going to get the answer. We should mention out of town scoreboard. The Avs pumped the Senators after losing to the Leafs yesterday. They beat the Senators today, and the Stars.
The Avs are on a run here. The Avs they're heating up at the right time, which is not great for the rest of the West.
It won't matter. It will matter not for the Winnipeg Jets, because with another win, the Jets continue to push towards first overall in the Central and in the West, I should say. So the likelihood of Dallas catching them, Dallas did, like I said, lost. Now Dallas has 2 games in hand, but Dallas lost in a shootout tonight. So the Jets gain at least a point on the Stars. Now I think that puts in fact, though, as I want to say, the Avs might only be 1 point back. No, 2 points back of Dallas, maybe. I think the Avs are 2 points.
Could be.
No,
I could
3 points back.
Tom, I'm just being lazy right now, Dave.
No, they're 3 points back. So the Jets have a 10-point lead on the Stars with they have 12 games to go. The Stars have 14 games to go, and the Avs, who are the same amount of games as Winnipeg, they are sitting with 87 points. So they're 13 back of Winnipeg. So it'll be interesting, this final sort of last little stretch run. But again, if the Jets can continue to add points to the standings bank, they are likely cruising to first place in the Central.
Yeah, and it's like our buddy Brent Bellamy says here, like nobody's catching the Jets in the West at this point. It's really a question of, are the Jets finishing first overall in the league or second overall in the league for that President's Trophy, right? And one other thing I wanted to mention, Dave, I mentioned this, roughly a week ago. We're officially on clinch watch because the Jets are going to be clinching. It's crazy to think with 12 games left, or I guess it's 11 games left now, right, Dave?
Yeah.
That the Jets could already be clinching a playoff spot, but
I think it's 1 point. Corey just asked. I think it's one. I think it's just one. Glenipeg, sorry, asked if it was how many points. I think it's 1 because I think it was 3 after tonight, 3 before tonight. So now I think it's down to 1. I could be wrong.
Hey, listen, at the end of the day, all that matters is the Jets have hit 100 points.
The Jets have hit 100 points.
That's all that matters.
And as pointed out by the folks at the NHL, it's the fastest they've ever achieved 100 points, beating the 17-18 team. Again, the best team that we had ever seen previously here in Winnipeg, 2.0, probably 1.02, because of course they went farther than any team had ever done in Winnipeg NHL. I'm not going to, of course, the WHA, sorry, is a much different story with a lot more success. But in an NHL uniform, it was a different story. But before we go, we got to, of course, mention one other thing.
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Minute Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
Now, the Moose are in much more dire straits because, of course, they had not the greatest road trip. They had a 4-game road trip. They started in Chicago where they lost. They went into Iowa. They won the first game but then they lost the second game. A split against Iowa, less than ideal. They ended things in Rockford. Rockford is the team that they're chasing. They're down going into that game with 13 games remaining against Rockford. They're down to Rockford by 10 points. So what was happening? What were the Moose going to try and do in order to maybe have, and now remember, including last night, they had 3 games to go against Rockford of the 13. So they could make some hay. They did get some good news. They got Axel Jonsson-Fjällby back in the lineup. He had missed the last 4 games. Dom DiVincentis, the Jets prospect goaltender, he got the net. And just over a minute after giving up the opening goal of the game, the Moose were able to strike back. Mason Shaw, he got his 14th of the season with an assist to the aforementioned Axel Jonsson-Fjällby. So that made it a 1-1 game, which is where it stayed into the third period when who else, Ezzy, but Jets 2022 6th-rounder Fabian Wagner, who scored
he's on a heater.
He's on something. I think it's more than a heater. 7 goals in 7 games. To put this into some perspective, he had 1 goal, in 87 games in the Swedish Hockey League. His first 31 games as a member of the Moose, and remember, he left the Swedish Hockey League this year. The expectation was he was going to play all year in Sweden. He left, got to Manitoba in November, started playing games, started to get a bigger role with the team. And then, like I said, 7 games ago, got his first. And it's been it's crazy how many goals. He's got 7 goals in his last 7 games. Now,
awesome. He doesn't have you love to see that for a 6th-round pick, right?
Oh, it's it's absolutely
I
unbelievable.
mean, you love to see that for any Moose player, but I mean, let's be honest. Fabian Wagner has not been like when you talk about the top Jets prospects. Obviously, Elias Salomonson's up there, Brad Lambert's up there, Nikita Chibrikov, Braden Yager, Colby Barlow. Even throw in guys like Kevin He and Kieran Walton.
Yeah.
But Fabian Wagner's not a guy that's talked about a lot. And I mean, I don't have to tell you this, Dave, because you watch the games. I don't. I mean, I obviously go to the occasional Moose game,
of course.
But I mean, Fabian Wagner. I mean, this is turning out to be a great little find for the Jets here.
Well, it's interesting how a guy, again, like I said, if you get 1 or 2 goals in a row, 3 goals, you're like, okay, fine. Like, guy gets hot, gets lucky, whatever. But, and I should also mention, because if Frosty's listening, Danny Zhilkin, he had 2 goals in his last 4 games. It might be 5 games, but the 2022 third rounder, he's been scoring a little bit more. He was dealing with a knee injury earlier in the season, but I think those guys are getting some more opportunities so Fabian Wagner, 7 goals, 7 straight games. He didn't score one of the games and he had 2 goals in another. So he has been a big driver and a big, nice find. And if you want to, although if we think Cole Perfetti looks young, look at my interview with Fabian Wagner last week before the team left.
Was it Wagner or Wagner?
Wagner. I just kind of, I germified it for whatever reason, but he has been a real good find and a real kind of a breath of fresh air around the Moose, who, as pointed out in the chat, have been struggling of late, but he made it a 2-1 game. The Moose would give up a goal late. So I think there was just 2:27 left in the game when, and remember, this was a game they really did need a clean win. They don't get that, but CJ Cease, speaking of 2014 draft picks, although I think he was CJ a 5th rounder?
Ooh, that sounds right.
I want to say he was either he could have been a 4th rounder. I feel like CJ might have.
I'm checking right now, Dave. Give me 2 seconds.
My original thought is 5th rounder, but
he was a 5th rounder. Yeah.
Look at that. Stick with the original. Well,
and he was drafted as CJ Franklin, not CJ
Franklin. That's true, but he did take his mother's name, so he's CJ Cease, and he gets the OT winning goal for the Manitoba Moose. So the Moose win it 3-2 to return home to Winnipeg. And why am I talking about the Manitoba Moose? Because if you folks in the chat want to see the Jets of tomorrow, literally tomorrow, then we've got tickets to the Moose game tomorrow night. We've got tickets to the Moose game on Saturday night. And that Moose game on Saturday night is going to be a museum fest, including the Dauphin Rail Museum, which is a big fan. Usually has the Illegal Curve Hockey Show on Saturdays. Shout out Dauphin Rail Museum. But we're
huge in Dauphin.
Big in Dauphin.
Yeah.
And so if you want to go to the Moose game, we've got tickets in the Illegal Curve Zone. Send me an email, dave@illegalcurve.com, or send me something on social media, and we'll send you to the game.
Love it. I mean, where else are you going to get this many free Moose tickets and Jets tickets aside from the Illegal Curve Hockey Show? That's why you got to watch, man.
Which is why you got to watch, and which is why you got to download the podcast. It's why you got to subscribe to everything. Okay, as it's now officially the next day, we've gone long. This is basically like an Illegal Curve Hockey Show, but hey, we're having a good time. We're having fun. There's lots of folks in the chat. So
look, with no Mindy, we got lots of time.
No time limits.
Yeah, we're free flowing. We're going a little bit long. We're talking about random Jets 1.0 players. We're talking about the Shannon brothers. We're talking about Russ Romanuk and Sergei Boutin and all the old guys. It was great.
Yeah, that was a good one. So, like I said, if you want to go to the game, send me an email, dave@illegalcurve.com. And, just a thanks to everyone who joins us each and every night. We do this show, and of course on Saturday mornings on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, because it wouldn't be the same without you. I was talking about the origin story of Illegal Curve the other day with someone, and I said, the greatest thing that ever happened to us was the demise of 1290, because I wasn't happy to see everyone else who was out of a job, but for us to be able to switch to this medium and have the ability to interact with people the way we do now, it's so much more validating. It's such a better experience for us. We hope for you. And so we appreciate you. And of course, smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. So big.
By the way, speaking of the origin story of Illegal Curve, there's some dark moments in that origin story.
Let me tell you, whenever that movie comes out, it's going to be a sick one. But but regardless, we'll have some fun with it. And I'm trying to think who would play Ezzy. It'd be
I feel like we'd maybe get like Brad Pitt or Leonardo DiCaprio to play you, Dave, and with Drew like
Paul Giamatti. Or no, what's his name? What's his name? No, who's that? Is it Paul Giamatti?
Oh, from he's a good actor.
Yeah.
No, I
He's
was
kind of like
thinking
angry and curmudgeonly.
Yeah, Drew. I was thinking more like, Drew's a tough one.
Jason Alexander.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Jason Alexander would get to play Drew. I don't know. Maybe me. Like, no, I got to play myself. Nobody can beat me.
Oh well, C-Mac has it. Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean that was the obvious one, right? Yeah, I love Zach. But like for you, Dave, I'm thinking if the only way we would basically say it's Leonardo DiCaprio or bust. Like it's got to be Leo DiCaprio to play Dave.
Oh, Jason Statham. That's a little too tough for Mandel. He's a little softer than Statham. Statham, I should say. But I will say as the best would be like we're doing like.
Oh no, I got it. I got it now. Who would play Drew? Keith Richards.
The best would be interviewing people to come in and like we're like sitting there and we like and Drew and I are sitting there waiting for you to show up. We're like, where's Ezzy? Playing auditioning for the role of Ezra Ginsburg is Ezra Ginsburg. Sold. All right. Anyways, let's end this show because now we're really going off the rails. But as I was trying to say, thank you to everyone in the chat because you guys make a Bob Odenkirk for me. C-Mac, I like that Bob Odenkirk, especially with the movies he made in Winnipeg. Oh, and Liz, we should mention, Liz had surgery. She was in the chat earlier. I don't know if she's still in the chat, but glad to see that, everything's good and that she was able to make it through and she's feeling better and good enough to be able to be part of the chat. So Liz, I'm glad, on behalf of Legal Curve, we're happy that you're feeling better and you're able to join us for at least part of the show. And then Phyllis will let you know if you didn't hear us give you this shout out that you'll make sure that someone will mention it. Hopefully Phyllis will let you know about it after because she's the conscious of this show. But anyways,
Phyllis is the heartbeat of both the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, Kenny and Rennie, and Winnipeg Sports Talk for sure.
There we go. Anyway, so thank you everyone for joining us, and a big thank you to all of our sponsors of Illegal Curve who make the post-game show, the Saturday show, and the website illegalcurve.com a possibility. They are in no particular order, Ezzy. Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Play Now, Holt Dental, Boston Pizza, City Place, Seagram's. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Well, it's been a long one. It's been a good one. We've had a lot of fun. Thanks, everyone, again for joining us. I'm Dave Minuk. He's Ezzy Ginsburg. We are back in action. Well, the website, illegalcurve.com, a little sneak peek. I'm going to give you a little sneak peek. We got a fun story about a family who made a journey from Australia to Winnipeg, the O'Connor family. That is going to be on the website tomorrow, as well as the next day thoughts from Connor Rabchak. But
love our Aussie friends. Shout out to all of our Aussie friends.
We got a good story on a family that came from Australia to Winnipeg and took in 5 Jets games, 2 Moose games, and came in the heart of our winters. Came in January, so look for that.
We got to meet them as well.
We did get to meet them. They came to our show at City Place. So we'll have that feature on the website. I think it's scheduled to publish either at 11 or at 1. And as an aside, if you see it on our Facebook, it always helps when you share it. That gets more people to be aware of it. And those are the kind of stories we like to share. So be sure to look for that. And then, of course, we're back in action Saturday morning, Legal Curve Hockey Show. As Ezzy said, Dan Robertson, Marty Baron. That's going to be an action-packed 2 hours of Jets talk. And then, of course, we start it all again on the Illegal Curve postgame show on Sunday. So thanks, everyone, for joining us. Have a great rest of your night and great start to your Friday. And we will talk to you on Saturday morning. That's it for me. That's it for Ezzy. We done. And helps when I hit end.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow at Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.